Mūsų karta pirmoji, supratusi, kaip iš lėto kenkiame gamtai. Ir vienintelė, žinanti, kad dar yra laiko ją išsaugoti. Apsaugokime mūsų visų ateitį. Ergo.
The laws of physics, the laws of life. Laws connect everything. We think that to be legal advisors, we must live under the same philosophy, adapting to connect and connecting to adapt.
Nepraleiskite laiko veltui. Nauji kino festivaliuose kritikus ir žiūrovus sužavėję filmai. Elito kinas. Ketvirtadienio vakarais per LRT+.
Kad būtum, reikia kito. Kino Pavasaris. Kovo 24, balandžio 3 dienomis visoje Lietuvoje. Didysis partneris Ergo draudimo grupė. Informaciniai partneriai LRT 15 min žmonės.
Tai laba diena, ketvirta festivalio diena ir šiandien man didelė garbė pristatyti dar vieną svečią, kuris į Kino Pavasarį prisijungia virtualiais tiltais. Ir šį kartą tai yra viena tokių turbūt tokių ne tai, kad sunkiausių, bet tokių savo temomis ir emocinių krūvių labiausiai paveikiausių festivalio filmų, kur pažiūrėčiau MIŠKO TANKMŽ. Ir filmo režisierius Benedek Fliegauf yra jau čia su mumis. Hello, Benz, welcome to Vilnius.
Hello, thank you for having me.
We have a couple of audience guests joining us for this conversation, but I would like to start with a few questions coming from my side first. And this is in a way a follow-up to your debut feature, Forest, which was premiered in 2003. And it would be very interesting, I think, for the audiences here also to hear the relation between the two. And maybe you can comment also on the reason why it was important to come back to that film, to that structure now.
So firstly, you can understand this film without the first one. So the two films are connected style-wise, but they are not connecting in the content in a way. So this is we call standalone sequel rather than a second episode or something like that. And well, for me to make such a film like Forest, or Forest I See You Everywhere, the first and the second, that means, for me it means freedom. That means I can do whatever I want. Nobody control me in a way like there are no foundation behind these films. And it gives me total freedom, and it also can be an escape when I cannot really find support for my, from the government or for the National Film Fund to make a film.
And yet, I think the title needs a separate explanation. It's such a beautiful and poetic title. We also translate it into Lithuanian language, slightly different, but I think also transferring the meaning of it. Maybe you can elaborate on the title.
It's hard to say. It's a bit. I would say irrational or mystical for me to choose such a title. I just felt that somehow if I have to give a rational interpretation of this title, I would say that somehow all the characters are struggling with something and somehow they see something mainly via the dialogue. What they have between them. There is something, but it's very hard to define. Usually a third person who are not there. It can be a ghost, it can be a dead person, it can be a disappeared person. Or not a person, but just the same energy between people, how they network into each other. And that's something that every character in this film just see everywhere. It doesn't mean they know what they see, but they see something. And that's the one, actually, this is the thing which connect the episodes.
Some critics compare Forest, I See You Everywhere with the music genre of fugue. And the fugue is defined by the polyphonous, by the polyphonous sounds that connect different pieces throughout the whole piece. And in your film, this polyphony creates, even though the 7 parts are not directly connected with one another through the characters or the narrative sequence, etc., but then there's still something that is joining all of them together. I was wondering if you could comment on, the writing process of the film, how you created this polyphony of the whole film.
Yeah, I think the fugue is it's a very accurate term for this film. It definitely has this musical aspect. And to speaking about the writing process, the point is that the episodes build up to each other. So at first, I just choose. There are many short stories in my head. I consider myself a short story writer who sometimes write a feature film and then expand the short story for a longer one. But these are there. There is a factory inside me. Pop out these short stories, and then I choose 3 of them. And then which are somehow thematically connected with each other, and then we make the rehearsals and the shoot. Then I decided which one will come, and then there are ones which are not even imagined in that process in the timeline, and then later I add new episodes. And it's very interesting to see how the people who are working in these films understand that clearly this is a story for Forest or not, So when I start to speak about the stories, there is no exact definition why one story is fit into the concept or into the film, but everybody feels it somehow. This is for us or not. And then at the end, here is this film where you can really, there is no connection with the characters, no connection with the stories, but somehow you feel that you see a very immanent vortex between the stories. And then the rest is really depend on your imagination and interpretation.
And where do the stories come from?
Usually these are coming from. Yeah, I have sleeping issues. Like I can't really. It's not just insomnia, but between the words, between the state of conscious, what we have when you are awake, and then what you have when you are asleep, and there is something between. And in that time, there are stories which start to bugging me in a way, like really I feel very excited about those stories, and then they are just coming, and there are many, so this is just a couple of them. And the best way to handle them is somehow to form them into something. So, but I think perhaps it would be more fit to me to be a poet or something else, because my frustration is sometimes I have to wait for years to articulate a story, but I could relate it in that time when I was figured out, but then after the years, the connection is not that intense anymore. And you see, this is also very, very good in these films because we can make it. So we don't need big sets and crews and everything, but just actors and the room, and then we can make it.
You've briefly already mentioned, but I would like you to elaborate a little bit more about the peculiar nature of this project, that the fact that it's not supported by the state funding. And I also saw your credit in the music, part. You created the music together, and then your son is playing also one of the, right? Tell us a little bit more about how you sort of gathered all the talents and all the people that worked on the film together, and how did you, how did it all come up?
Yeah, even if you make an independent film, then you have to, it's a no-budget film. And even if you do a no-budget film, then you have to offer something for those people who are working in it. And it's always very fascinating to see how easily the people are engaged for such a film when they see some kind of inner passion in the leader, which I happen to be me in this case. And so you have this feverish sort of, flames inside you, and it's shriveling, and the people are just detect that, and somehow they feel something. And be a bit more material, I would say that there is this business, there is this deal, what I actually make with actors. Some of them are professionals and others not. And with the professionals, it's working in a way like they have 10 minutes monologues, complex dialogues. And if you think about how the actors, especially when they are working in films, how they deal with the script, they usually have a couple of lines and a couple of close-ups, but they have this passion to show themselves, to do something bigger, something more detailed, nuanced, but big and deep and intense sort of monologues and complex dialogues. So for them, it's a very good, I would say, workshop in one hand, but then we are going into the deep, and then when we are lucky, then we can create this psychological labyrinth, what we made here. And it's again the passion. If one of somebody just has a passion, then the people start to follow you.
I mentioned your son as like one of the young characters that are playing the role in the film. And this is one of the few actually parts of the film that really in a way reflect a lot on the parent-children connection and then the tensions between them. And so this is like a very important and very strongly elaborated theme in the film. And I was wondering, when I was asking about your inclusion of your son to the project, whether like these stories were somehow, I don't know, like coming from your own experience as a father raising a son and having a family, or you being a son of someone. Is there any autobiographical level to the stories?
Yeah. I have issues with organized religion. I think it's obvious if you see that scene. And then we speak a lot about what kind of hypocrisy going on in the church. And with my son, we have deep dialogues about that. And also we spoke a lot about evolution, what kind of differences the dogmas and the scientific way of thinking has, what is the gap between, what do you lose if you are an atheist, and what do you lose when you are a deeply religious person, and the other way around, what do you win, and so on. And then so it's basically, it's a very intense dialogue about the topic with my son. But the thing is, he's working with me as a script doctor since years. I mean, he's a bit more, how do you call it, more grown up than how he should be intellectually. And here, I mean, he's not an actor at all. He never wanted to be. But it was like I spoke with. I had to find the actor. But when the actor who played this role, and then we have to also make the casting with the actresses. But it was logistically very difficult to choose, to gather them with the actor and the actress, the mother and the son. So therefore, my son is just. I was asking him to make, to help me to make this rehearsal. And then I understood that the very differences between the other actors who were there, that he really, really deeply understands what they are saying. And then he step by step, he started to be comfortable with the role, what he playing. And then I offered to him the role. And to my surprise, he didn't reject me. He enjoyed the play.
And in addition to this, I just wanted to say my impression and general compliments for writing the script for youth, which in the film sound way more mature than the remaining adults in the film in a way. And I was wondering about, I think that like what you said about your son, that he truly sort of understood and felt what he's saying, but it also really applies to Lily Kisling's that was awarded in Berlinale. And the first part of the film is just incredibly striking you. I mean, I think that was the piece that I believed the most from, the remaining repertoire of 2020 in cinema, 2021.
Wow, thank you so much. It's with Lilla in the first scene. I didn't know that, but she had serious father issues. So I think she was very easily related with this, the slow burning lies between the parents and kids. She's very into that thing, and somehow this is the point of the casting process, to find those people who somehow can really relate with these problems. Or we go back to that scene about speaking on the religion and that aspect between the teenage son and the mother. There was this the actress Aistė Račaitytė, who played the mother. She was always a cutie, so she's the cutie in the Hungarian repertoire. She's all, when they need a cute girl or women, then they give a role to her. But I always felt that in the interviews that she has something more. She has there could be some much more than cutie. And then, so therefore, she was very happy to show that side of her, but she never was able to do.
I was wondering, maybe there are already some questions in the audience. Vita, like one of the spectators, is also asking about the scene between the religious mother and the teenage son, and that was the scene that she mostly connected, most likely because she also is raising a son. But then she was wondering what were the other problems apart from like religious fanatism that you were referring in that scene.
Mhm. Well, it's about the power. It's about how the mother control her son. Basically, that's the thing. And if you analyze that scene, then the mother is not a religious person. That's the thing. You know, she's not. I don't think she believes in God. And that makes the whole scene very complex in a way, because her role is more about the power playing rather than the pure faith. And if I speak with religious people, I usually feel that somehow, you know, I'm a hardcore atheist. But somehow I feel that I have much more connected with the concept of God, or I spent many, many years to examine and analyze the transcendency and the faith and all these things, than those people who are really deliberately make a pray before they eat. So the religion has, or the faith, the religion has very, very different levels what can give to the people. And you know, me and my son, we take it seriously. We are speaking about, is it really happening? Does it make any sense? What's the moral aspect of this? What's different of the fiction of the Bible and the fiction of Lord of the Rings? And all these things are usually a topic between us. And yeah, these are the mother and son roles, and what kind of dynamic they have, and via this problem. Basically, that's the thing.
Maybe there are more questions.
Hello, can you hear me?
I hear you very well.
Hi, Bent. It's a pleasure to see you, and thank you for being here. I was wondering, what was your approach in regards to the actors, especially when there is no lead role? Thank you.
You mean approach how I started to work with them?
Yes, in the sense, like, how do you manage to, I don't know, yeah.
Well, it's in this film, what makes it very special is that the casting itself is also the production design. Because there are no locations in this film, but that's actually not accurate, because there is landscapes in this film, but the landscapes is the human gestures and the human face. So it was very challenging to find people who are, you know, somehow you know, if you make a picture about, let's say, about a seaside, and there is the sand, there is the waves of the sea, and there is the wind, and there are many things, but you cannot put a pine tree in the sea. So you have to, there is a certain kind of connection between these faces and these gestures and these people somehow, but I cannot really define. So that was very, very important. So we knew the faces. Again, it was like when I came with the name and saying to the other people around me, they said that, okay, yes, that's she's the one. We have to put her into this film or not. But nobody could tell why, if it's not or if it's yes. So that was something. But speaking on the working with the actors, I think the main thing is that when you choose them, basically that's the biggest part of the whole thing. And to be fair, I also have to say that, I mean, well, I don't know how it sounds when it's in foreign language, but in Hungarian language, what our real achievement is that it's 100% authentic. Everything is authentic, which is happening between the actors. It's hard to judge when you see it not on your mother tongue, but this is something what we really achieved. But to be fair, I have to tell you that we reshooted many scenes. So we recast scenes and we made it again with another person, and we understood that this cannot say with authentic way. So, and again, this is the one of the advantage of this filmmaking, that you can do that. So if you just need a room and you need just 2 or 3 actors, then you can reshoot the thing. But it's a luxury what you don't have when you have a normal budget.
So can you just say a little bit more? So the dialogues, were they written precisely, and were they acted precisely by the script, or there was a lot of freedom in terms of how you're going to say one or the other important thing?
Yeah. Usually I know these people very well who are playing in the film, or if I don't know them, then I spend many times with them during the rehearsal, basically. And then I as a parrot, I learn their rhythm, the way of saying things, and then try to make the dialogues in that way. So and sometimes I think about somebody when I write the dialogue, and then I know it's a music thing. So then you hear the rhythm, you hear that how they would express themselves in that certain situation. So basically, it went in this way. It's very much about. It's almost that much about the dialogues. This film, like a slam poetry or rapping or something. But this is about our psychological, meals in where we are just going on and on in our lives. And then, what I really like in this way of filmmaking, that there is a zeitgeist always in the city where you are living. Then you it's very hard to define, but there is something, but we all know it's there. It's very hard to articulate that. And for us, this kind of filmmaking, this sequel, it's very good to make, to catch this zeitgeist and put it into the cage or into the prison, or it's just, capture it and then lock it and then throw the key away. And it's always there. You can rewatch it after 20 years or 10 years. And then, so basically that's the thing. But of course, it's not a general, mirror about the Hungarian people mood. So we are not doomed. We are not gloomed. There are many light people who are just laughing a lot and everything. It's just me. I'm the one who, channel all these things for these heavy topics.
But this leads perfectly to the question that I was, it's very difficult for me to formulate it in a very clear way, but I'm going to try. We're living in very, very difficult times, in the dark times. And the culture, or like in this case, films that are not offering us light entertainment and yes, that are not offering an obvious hope. You have to search in it, like in your film, I think. How can we find a connection with them nowadays when we're living through these dark times?
Yeah, I think what I will say now, I think it would be better to articulate in the film somehow more precisely, or give a prologue to the film to say that, or just, because that's what I want to say now is the key of the film somehow, because it's not a depressed film at all. Because the depression is something when a huge weight of your suffering is that somehow paralyze you. And you cannot really deal with any problem. You cannot you cannot maintain a conversation with somebody else about your psychological state. That's the point of the depression, actually, and the anxiety. That's a different thing. But this is not a depressed film. It's contrary. It's about how the people deal with their chains, you know. If you think about it, every situation is that somehow the people try to be free, and they understand that they can, and that's a tragic part somehow, that they somehow understood that the only way to make to be free is that hurting to other people, which is a very basic definition of our life, actually. So it's a very challenging thing. But what you see is people try to unchain themselves. They try to awake from that nightmare while they are struggling in. When you can articulate your problems, then and if you have a will to articulate your problems, then it's hard to say, because it's hard to see. It's very hard to see, and it's very hard to experience that frustration that these people have. But this frustration is somehow positive, because they are just unchained themselves. They break out from their anxiety.
Yes, and I was thinking also that in the current times, it's like, in a way, it's like really, it would be like very, very strong dissonance to have a connection with something that is not maybe in a way reflecting our inner state now. So in a way, watching the film like Forest, I See You Everywhere, it's in a way somehow healing, I think, and giving a hope that after a very difficult and complicated process, there comes a chance for, as you said, a change and and hope.
I think that these people try to love each other. They try to connect with each other, but they can't. But somehow, and all of us has this, when the relationship, you know, this is about how the people speaking with each other in their rooms. This is what's going on. If you live in the real relationship, then you have this deep conversation. It's there. It's just the filmmakers are not. It's a rarity when the filmmakers try to capture this. I think this is really. It's more about the psychological therapy, psychological drama. When you speak about this intimacy and all these things. But what I feel, there is a dysfunctional communication between these people. It's an ill communication between the people. And there are many, many patterns, but we can spot to say that. So that's, if you say this, then you are not going to be free. You know, the film is filled with this thing, but it's really reflect our conversation. The only thing is that there are many other conversations. You know, this is but that's the freedom of the creator to collect these things. Yeah, it's a happy film. It's not a light one.
And you know, the main theme of the festival this year is, in English we call it To Exist, You Coexist. And it's all about the importance of the other and also responsibility for the other, which is next to you. When we act, you know, in the daily life, and we act as a whole in our lives, etc., etc. So I think your movie like really implements a lot the main festival's theme, and thank you so much for it.
I would like to say thank you to having me here, and also I know that you need an intellectual investment to see such a film, which has that tons of dialogue in it, but not in your language. So thank you for everybody who watched this film. Thank you for the effort.
And thank you for the time that you spent with us today. I remind the audience that there are still some screenings that can be attended, and the movie will be also available later on in Lithuania. So thank you so much, Benz, for joining us.
Thank you. I hope next time I will be there physically. It would be great.
Yes, we look forward to your new films.
Thank you so
Good
much.
luck. Bye.
Bye.
Kad būtum, reikia kito. Kino Pavasaris. Kovo 24, balandžio 3 dienomis visoje Lietuvoje. Didysis partneris Ergo draudimo grupė. Informaciniai partneriai LRT 15 min žmonės.